NLE Choppa and Pooh Shiesty's beef is getting ugly after a leaked phone call where Shiesty laughed as his baby mama called Choppa gay. Choppa is firing back publicly. The whole situation is getting really personal and things are escalating fast. Let's get into it. Before any of the tension, before the arrests, before any of the noise online, there was a track. Back in 2019, a teenage NLE Choppa linked up with a rising Pooh Shiesty for a song called Up in the Score feat. Pooh Shiesty, a single by NLE Choppa on Apple Music released September 6, 2019. Both of them were still finding their footing in the industry at that point. Choppa was riding the wave from his breakout hit, and Shiesty was still a couple years away from becoming one of the most talked about new voices out of Memphis. That early record matters because it shows this wasn't some manufactured industry pairing. These are two guys from the same city who linked up when neither one of them had built the following they have now. Choppa's story from there is well documented. He gained recognition with the release of his 2019 single Choppa Pooh, which received platinum certification by the Recording Industry Association of America and peaked within the top 40 of the Billboard Hot 100, with the song preceding his debut EP, Cottonwood, in December of that year. From there, he kept climbing, eventually signing with Warner Records to release his debut studio album, Top Shotta, in 2020, which peaked within the top 10 of the US Billboard 200. Shiesty's rise ran on a parallel track. He put out his debut mixtape in early 2021, and it made noise fast. Shiesty Season, the debut commercial mixtape by Pooh Shiesty, was a southern hip-hop and trap mixtape that debuted at number 3 on the Billboard 200. A deluxe version followed the next year, the certified edition of the mixtape released on April 29, 2022, featuring guest appearances from Gunna, Moneybagg Yo, ESTG, Big Scar, 42 Dugg, and others. For a minute, it looked like Shiesty was on the same trajectory as Choppa, two Memphis natives about to run the sound of the city at the same time. Then everything for Shiesty stopped. In 2022, he was sentenced to prison. As one report later summed it up, Pooh Shiesty entered a 5-year prison sentence in 2022, with one of the year's biggest rap albums in Shiesty Season already behind him. That sentence took him off the map for years, while Choppa kept releasing music, kept building a following, and kept his name in rotation. The two of them were never really positioned as rivals during this stretch. If anything, Choppa's camp kept an eye on Shiesty's situation, from a distance, the way you'd watch out for somebody from your own neighborhood. While Shiesty sat, Choppa's own catalog kept expanding. He dropped Choppa Pooh follow-ups, a second album in Cottonwood 2, and continued to push his sound in different directions, all while staying rooted in Memphis identity. It's worth remembering, too, that Choppa is still a young man building his own family story at the same time. Born Bryson LaShawn Potts on November 1, 2002, in Memphis, Tennessee. He was barely out of his teens when Shiesty went away, and he's still only in his early 20s now. Shiesty, meanwhile, is a few years older. Lontrell Donnell Williams Jr., born November 8, 1999, is an American rapper and songwriter from Memphis, Tennessee, signed to Atlantic Records and 1017 Records, the label led by Gucci Mane. That connection to Gucci Mane's label is going to matter a lot later in this story, because the very label relationship that helped build Shiesty's career is tied directly to the situation that eventually pulled Choppa back into his orbit in the worst way possible. For years, the two of them existed almost like a what could have been. Choppa kept climbing the charts. Shiesty sat behind bars, watching the rap scene move without him, his 2019 collaboration with Choppa becoming a relic of a much earlier chapter. Fans who remembered Up in the Score would occasionally bring it up, wondering out loud what a reunion between the two might sound like whenever Shiesty finally came home. Nobody expected that reunion, when it did happen, to be shaped by federal charges, a kidnapping case, and a rumor about a baby mama. But that's exactly the direction this story took. The bond that started with a song in 2019 was about to get tested by real-world events far outside the studio, and Choppa, who spent years watching from a distance, was about to get pulled directly into the middle of it. That's where the second chapter of this begins. Shiesty didn't just come home to freedom. He came home to a whole new set of problems, and those problems didn't stay his alone. Shiesty didn't serve the full 5 years. He got out early, and by the time he stepped back into the studio, he had a story to tell. His comeback single hit fast. FDO, short for First Day Out, released through Atlantic Records, 1017 Records, and Choppa Gang Enterprises on December 12, 2025, served as his first and only release of the year, after his early release from prison. After being in the middle of a sentence for over 5 years, notice that label name in the credits, Choppa Gang Enterprises. Even on his comeback single, Shiesty's business ties ran straight through NLE Choppa's camp. The song didn't just come out quietly, it performed. The song peaked at number 12 on the Billboard Hot 100 in January 2026, becoming his highest charting solo song to date. Shiesty was fired up about it too, telling Ebro Darden on Apple Music around the song's release that he'd expected big things and that the response was going beyond even what he'd hoped for, saying he expected it to go crazy and that it ended up doing some outrageous shit. For a moment, it looked like a clean redemption arc. A guy comes home, drops a song about his first day of freedom, and it becomes his biggest hit ever. That's the story anybody would want for somebody who just did years behind bars. But that window of good news didn't stay open long. By the following spring, Shiesty was back in handcuffs, and this time it wasn't a parole violation or anything connected to his old case. It was something much bigger. He and a group of other people were accused of going after his own label boss. Pooh Shiesty and 8 other individuals were arrested for allegedly kidnapping and robbing Gucci Mane. Gucci Mane, the same man who runs 1017 Records, the same label that had just helped push FDO into the top 15 of the Hot 100. This is the moment the beef between Choppa and Shiesty actually starts to take real shape in public. Choppa didn't stay quiet. He went to Twitter almost immediately, and what he said made it clear. This hit him personally. Choppa reacted on Twitter, writing, "Ian gon' lie, Shiesty fed me up with this one." Read that again. Not shocked, not praying for everybody involved. He said Shiesty messed him up. That's the language of somebody who felt personally let down by a person he'd been cool with for years. The timing made things messier. Memphis was going through public scrutiny at that exact moment, both for its hip-hop representation and its NBA franchise after Pooh Shiesty's arrest and LeBron James's controversial comments about the city. Choppa found himself trying to defend his city from 2 directions at once, from LeBron's comments and from the optics of one of Memphis's own getting hit with a kidnapping charge. He went back on social media 2 days later with a message defending the city's image, writing that people had it twisted and that Memphis had black excellence too. Even the mayor of Memphis got dragged into the conversation, responding to LeBron's comments directly and inviting him to come see the city for himself rather than judge it from outside, saying he'd welcome the chance to turn your criticism into action. But underneath the city pride messaging, there was a real tension building between Choppa and Shiesty specifically. Choppa wasn't just defending Memphis in the abstract. He was reacting to a friend, a collaborator, somebody whose name was stitched into his own catalog since 2019, getting swept into one of the more serious accusations in recent hip-hop memory, an alleged kidnapping of the very man who signed Shiesty's checks. Other artists started weighing in too as the case developed. Young Thug, who knows plenty about facing serious charges himself, publicly called for Shiesty to be released, a sign that plenty of people in the industry saw this as bigger than a simple street dispute. But the legal situation kept getting worse, not better, and the fallout from the Gucci Mane case didn't stay contained to a courtroom. It reached all the way to Shiesty's front door. That's where things escalate even further, because the case against Shiesty didn't stay a rumor or an accusation sitting in a police report. It turned into a full federal search, and that search is what really cranked the temperature up on everything connected to Shiesty, including his relationship with Choppa. By the middle of the year, the Gucci Mane case had moved well past social media reactions. It had become a federal matter. Pooh Shiesty's Memphis home was raided by the FBI, with Shiesty having been home from prison since October, although his home in Cordova was recently searched. That's not a local police matter anymore. That's federal agents at a rapper's actual residence, tied directly to the kidnapping accusation involving his own label head. For context on how serious the underlying case had become, letters were even being sent to the judge overseeing it. A person identified only as CW, who wrote a letter to Pooh Shiesty's judge in the Gucci Mane case, may have been Gucci's security guard during the alleged incident. That's the kind of detail that shows this case has real people, real testimony, and real consequences attached to it, not just internet speculation. Shiesty's own former legal team weighed in publicly as more footage tied to the case circulated. His former lawyer, Bradford Cohen, described leaked footage, connected to the Gucci Mane situation in blunt terms, even though he's no longer part of Shiesty's defense. The case kept generating headlines for months, each new development pulling Shiesty further from the redemption story FDO had promised just months earlier. Now think about where this leaves Choppa. He's watching somebody he's known since he was a teenager go from first day out celebration music straight into an FBI raid, tied to an alleged kidnapping of the head of his own record label. That's not a small thing to process publicly, especially when you've already gone on record saying that person fed me up. And this is where the danger in the beef is getting dangerous. Starts to take on real weight, not just internet drama weight. You've got a rapper facing a kidnapping charge involving his own label boss, federal agents searching his home, and a public paper trail of somebody close to him. Choppa, expressing real frustration about the situation. In street culture and in the rap world, legal jeopardy at this level doesn't stay contained to one person. It ripples outward to everybody connected by history, by label ties, by hometown loyalty. It's also worth remembering that this isn't the first time in this stretch that NLE Choppa has been at the center of a tense, escalating conflict. Around the same period, he was locked in an entirely separate and much more publicized feud with NBA YoungBoy, one that had already produced multiple diss tracks. He kicked off his feud with NBA YoungBoy in October 2025 by dissing him on his single KO. That record wasn't subtle either. It was built around a direct message. As Choppa put it on the track itself, he accused YoungBoy of poisoning younger listeners, asking pointed questions about his actual impact in a line later highlighted by outlets covering the release, where he put it plainly that YoungBoy poisons the youth. YoungBoy didn't sit on that. NBA YoungBoy delivered a response to NLE Choppa's KO diss with a new track called Zero IQ, which escalated their feud. Choppa kept the pressure on with follow-up material, including a track called Hello Revenge, that hit YoungBoy multiple times in recent months, most recently on his track, Hello Revenge. That hit YoungBoy multiple times in recent months, most recently on his track, Hello Revenge. That feud even boiled into a physical confrontation at one point. NLE Choppa and NBA Ben 10 traded shots after a tense confrontation in Houston, with Choppa having been feuding with NBA YoungBoy for months, having dissed him on several of his latest singles. So by the time the Shiesty situation started unfolding, Choppa was already somebody whose conflicts had a track record of spilling out of the studio and into real-world tension. That pattern matters, because it shows this isn't a guy who lets things stay quiet when he feels wronged. Layer the Gucci Mane case and the FBI raid on top of an already active NBA YoungBoy feud, and you start to see why people around both camps were on edge. Choppa had one very public, very heated conflict running with YoungBoy, and now a second, quieter, but arguably more serious situation building with Shiesty, someone he'd actually worked with, someone whose legal troubles were becoming federal, and someone whose actions he'd already called out by name online. And just when it looked like the Shiesty situation might settle into a slow legal grind, working itself out in courtrooms, a completely different kind of story broke, one that had nothing to do with Gucci Mane, kidnapping charges, or FBI raids, and everything to do with something far more personal between Choppa and Shiesty directly. If the Gucci Mane case was the legal fire, this next part is the personal one, and it's the part that turned tension into something a lot of fans started calling outright dangerous. Choppa has a young son with a woman named Marissa Danae, who's fairly well known in her own right on social media. Marissa Danae, known as MXRVSA on Instagram with 1.1 million followers, is publicly known as the mother of NLE Choppa's son, Chosen Won Dashun Potts, born in August 2023. Her relationship with Choppa hasn't been simple. Her relationship with the Memphis rapper was marked by co-parenting disputes and allegations about his involvement. Then, in the middle of the year, a new story broke that pulled Shiesty directly into Choppa's personal life. In late May 2026, Marissa announced or shared content related to a new pregnancy, with ultrasound imagery circulating on social media. The name attached to that pregnancy wasn't just some anonymous rumor. It was Pooh Shiesty's. NLE Choppa's baby mama Marissa Danae went live in tears amid pregnancy rumors with Pooh Shiesty, expressing fears of single motherhood again, while the drama involving ultrasounds and denials spread. Now, to be fair to how this actually played out, The footage itself didn't hand people a clean confirmation. The video footage itself did not show Marissa explicitly naming Pooh Shiesty, stating she was pregnant by him, or uttering the exact quoted lines, with the live chat referencing pregnancy and a young man, but the specific claims about Pooh Shiesty appearing primarily in the post caption rather than the video content. That gap between what she actually said on camera and what got attached to the story and captions led to plenty of pushback. This discrepancy led many viewers to challenge the post's accuracy, with some accusing the account of fabricating or exaggerating details for engagement. But here's the thing about a rumor like this once it's out. It doesn't matter how clean the sourcing is. Once Pooh Shiesty's name got attached to a pregnancy involving the mother of NLE Choppa's child, the story took on a life of its own. Comment sections filled up fast, with supporters trying to comfort Marissa through it. Supportive viewers commented, "You're so strong," and "Heal baby," while others offered practical advice such as focus on your baby and let him go. Others weren't as gentle, with critical voices jumping in too, one asking pointedly what she'd expected from someone barely into his 20s. Think about what this means layered on top of everything else. Choppa had already publicly said Shiesty messed him up over the Gucci Mane situation. Now there's a story circulating that Shiesty may have been involved with the mother of his child, right in the middle of Shiesty's federal legal troubles. This isn't two rappers trading disses over a beat. This is a real personal family-level situation getting dropped on top of an already tense relationship between two men from the same city who used to make music together. It's exactly the kind of combination. Legal danger plus personal betrayal rumors, plus a shared hometown where reputations and respect carry real weight. That turns beef from an industry buzzword into something people start describing as genuinely risky. Memphis hip-hop has a long history of these kinds of situations not staying confined to social media. When federal charges, alleged infidelity, and public statements from both sides start stacking up at the same time, people around both camps start paying very close attention to how it gets handled. Choppa, for his part, didn't respond to the pregnancy story with anything close to the bluntness he used for the Gucci Mane arrest. There was no direct tweet calling Shiesty out by name over Marissa. But silence in a moment like that speaks its own language, especially from someone who has shown, repeatedly, in the NBA YoungBoy situation and in the Gucci Mane reaction, that he doesn't typically stay quiet when he feels crossed. And that's really where this entire chapter sits right now. A legal storm around Shiesty that's still working its way through federal proceedings, and a personal storm involving Choppa's own family that hasn't been fully confirmed or denied by either side. Both stories are still open. Neither has a clean ending yet, which brings us to where things actually stand between these two men today. So where does all of this leave NLE Choppa and Pooh Shiesty as of right now? Neither man has released a diss track aimed at the other. There's been no formal beef announcement, no back and forth trading verses, the way Choppa has done with NBA YoungBoy or with Blueface. What exists instead is a stack of separate, serious situations that all point back to the same two names. At the same time, in the same city, Shiesty's legal situation remains unresolved. The kidnapping and robbery case involving Gucci Mane is still working through the courts, and the FBI's search of his Cordova home in the middle of the year signals that investigators still see this as an active, developing matter, rather than something close to being settled. Letters are still being sent to the judge overseeing the case. Former legal representatives are still weighing in publicly. None of that points toward a quick resolution. Choppa, meanwhile, is still balancing multiple fronts at once. His feud with NBA YoungBoy has continued to produce new material and new flashpoints, including the Houston confrontation with NBA Ben 10 that showed how quickly these situations can turn physical rather than staying on wax. His mother has waded into that conflict publicly too, at one point making claims about YoungBoy's involvement with Choppa's own child's mother, a strange echo of the very dynamic that would later play out with Shiesty and Marissa, just with the names swapped. And that's really the through line connecting everything in this story. NLE Choppa keeps finding himself at the center of conflicts where the personal and the public collide, where a rap feud isn't just about bars anymore. It's tangled up with co-parenting disputes, family loyalty, and hometown pride. Pooh Shiesty's situation adds a level of actual legal danger that most rap beefs never reach. A kidnapping charge against your own label's founder is not something that gets settled with a comeback single, no matter how well that single performs on the charts. What makes this particular pairing land differently than Choppa's other conflicts is the history behind it. This isn't Choppa going after somebody he's never worked with. This is two Memphis artists who linked up as teenagers, who had a real collaborative relationship, who watched each other's careers from different sides of a prison sentence, and who now find themselves connected by a kidnapping case, an FBI raid, and a paternity rumor all within the same year. That's a lot of weight sitting on top of a friendship that started with a song most casual fans probably forgot existed until this year. Marissa is still out there navigating her own situation in public, dealing with a pregnancy story that she never fully confirmed on camera, but that has already shaped how people view both her and the men attached to her name. Whatever the truth turns out to be about that pregnancy, the damage to the relationship between Choppa and Shiesty, at least in the eyes of the public, is already done. You don't walk back a tweet like the one Choppa posted about being messed up, and you don't erase the optics of a federal raid tied to your own label boss. For now, both men are moving forward on separate tracks. Shiesty is trying to build on the momentum of FDO, while fighting off a case that could send him back to prison for far longer than the 5 years he already served. Choppa is juggling a growing catalog, an ongoing conflict with NBA YoungBoy, unresolved co-parenting tension with Marissa, and now this quieter, colder rift with a man he once brought onto one of his earliest records. Nobody involved has said this is over. Nobody involved has said it's escalating into something worse, either. What's clear is that two men who once stood together in a Memphis studio now sit on opposite sides of a story, involving federal agents, courtrooms, and family accusations, and neither one of them controls how it ends.